tonight? Oh, good. Nice group. So we had an interesting series of things tonight. We're going to be talking about shared experiences and, of course, the eclipse that's coming up. And should be interesting if we can find a clear spot to view from. Don't have to travel too far, supposedly. So I guess we'll get started. First, we'll have the director of Perkins, our host, here to give us a few words, if you would.
Hello, I'm Don Stevens. I'm the director here at Perkins Observatory. A few announcements. First thing is we on Friday night have regular public nights, programs where hopefully the weather cooperates. We show folks stuff through telescopes, and it's always nice to have a few volunteers from the club to come out here with a telescope and show the fine folks who attend the program things up in the sky. You don't need to be an expert or pro or even have your own telescope. We have some telescopes here that you could use as well. And in doing that, then we can also pair you with someone a little bit more experienced as well to help you find stuff, begin to learn your way across the sky and share your love of the hobby with folks that attend the program. So those are held on Friday nights, and they start at right now this time of year 8 p.m. Our schedule's on our website. We will be closed for a couple of weeks up to around the eclipse time. I'm going to be doing a lot of programs and things like that between now and then. And the reason we're shutting down for the eclipse, unfortunately, is as you can see, a rather small facility and we can't host large crowds. And there's plenty of other places around the state that are doing public events. So we're encouraging folks to reach out and attend those events out there. So unfortunately, we're going to be closed in part because I'm going to be out of state, and so is our resident astronomer up at the Ohio Wesleyan as well, Bob Harmon. So there's not going to be anyone here to open the observatory up or do anything. So we are encouraging folks to attend the public events that are out there for this. There'll be more on that. Things like that. I've already put some information up there with links to information about the eclipse and where to go view it and things of that nature. Another thing is, I know the club's selling eclipse glasses. We also are selling them as well, and if you want to help us out with that, reach out to me, and I can get you some to sell to folks, and the proceeds go to things like do a little bit of renovation around here that we need, or doing some work on the dome or telescope or things like that. So anything you can do along those lines to help us out there is appreciated as well. And for those that are new, welcome. Feel free to take a look around here on this level here in the library and stuff like that. Check it out. It's really nice. But thanks a lot for coming.
Okay.
We have some guests.
Yes, go ahead.
Actually, I got one more thing.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, okay.
That Isaac reminded me of something. We've had a couple of incidents of vandalism here on the property during non-public hours when there's no one here. So unfortunately, we've had to kind of restrict access to the property. Normally now we've got a chain across the driveway down there. So I, in the past, like to have and allow the club members to come up here, even when we're not doing programs, to set up their telescopes and observe. And sometimes hold other events like the CAS meeting coming up next Saturday. So someone could reach out to me, a couple hours before, and I'm going to for sure. Are you planning on doing it? Okay. Then I'll make sure I'll have that chain down. Right now, I've limited number of keys I can give out for it. We're thinking about putting up a gate with maybe a combination lock, and I'd give folks the combo to that to be able to get on the property. But for now, just reach out to me if you need on the property, like I said, give me some advance notice, you know, and that way I could try to arrange to be here to have that chain down, and that way you can get onto the property. So, thanks.
Okay. Our outreach coordinator has our guest list here today. She'll start.
Okay, I'm fighting a little throat virus here, so I apologize for my voice. But we have Ben and Riley, they're back there. If you'd like to wave or something. Would you like to introduce yourself at all? Say anything about yourselves if you'd like. If not, you don't have to. Okay, all right. And then we have Phil and Lizzie over here. Would you like to say anything about yourselves or just? Okay. And then Stuart and Son over here. Henry. He didn't write down his name. So I just saw Stuart and Son Henry. Okay. Would you like to say anything about yourselves?
We've been to the Friday nights several times, and Henry's always asked me to do astronomical events, so.
All right.
we found out about this and decided to come.
Great. Welcome.
Okay, thank you. Okay. Okay, so our treasurer is not here tonight. Okay.
Brad Hoehne, I just wanted to let you know I need to make an announcement.
Oh, well, let's go ahead and do it then.
Okay. I'm not going to be able to stay for the meeting entirely. Anybody that needs solar classes, I did leave 50 with Charles there. You see Charles after the program, and he will get them for you. You're going to have exact changes, you know, problem.
Yeah. Okay. Isaac. Go ahead.
Sorry to interrupt again. There's a vehicle parked right in front of the steps. We got moved. We can't have anybody walking on
Hi, thank you. Well, good evening, everyone. My name is Isaac Cruz, and I lead the CAS. CAS is the Columbus Astronomical Society Imaging Special Interest Group. So you don't have to learn it all, just say CAS. And we have meetings on the third Saturday of the month. So following this Saturday. Next Saturday, we'll have the meeting for February. If you're interested on actually taking pictures, you see some of the images that some of our members have taken, throughout the years of anything, and including, we'll be talking a little bit about how to image the total solar eclipse tonight. But if you want to, talk about and learn a little bit about, you're curious about what it takes to actually take pictures and, of the sky and so forth, plan to come here next Saturday, 1 p.m. So I'll be in the middle of the afternoon, 1 p.m. We normally actually get together for lunch because astronomy and eating actually go together. So you got to eat. So yes, we usually get together. I send out an announcement usually like on Wednesday, the Wednesday prior, that actually says where we're going to be meeting for brunch, and again to remind everyone if you're interested in coming over, that we will be here in this venue, Perkins, 1 p.m. and next Saturday. Right. Well, thank you very much. Appreciate it. Thank you.
Okay, Brad is our vice president and also the director of the John Glenn Astronomy Park down in Hocking Hills, if you're familiar with that. So let's hear what you got to say.
Thank you. Just a reminder that the programs at the John Glenn Astronomy Park start again officially on March 1st. We do, unlike Perkins, we don't do the programs actually if it's cloudy or rainy or whatever, because as you know, we're only outdoors. We don't have anything to do, and everybody would just be standing around in the rain, and it's a long drive to just stand around in the rain. So I try to cancel the program or tell if the program is going to go forward by noon on the day of the program. And we put that on two places, the Facebook page and our website. So if you pull up the website, it'll say right there in the very first line whether or not the program actually goes, forward. I've been getting a lot of questions about whether or not we are doing anything for the eclipse. Absolutely not. And the reason why that is not because we don't have enough room. We have plenty of room for hundreds of people, but we are not in the path of totality. And the author, I think it was Annie Dillard, once wrote that the difference between a partial solar eclipse, even a really good partial solar eclipse, and a total solar eclipse is the difference between kissing a man and marrying him. So, yeah, so the total eclipse is a lot more intense. And so anybody that's going to the John Glenn Astronomy Park is doing the wrong thing. So don't go to the John Glenn Astronomy Park on the day of the eclipse. Go up to Tiffin, Ohio, or Marion, or something like that. Or, Delaware, Ohio. We're not here, but this is actually in the path of totality. So I have a trip lined up where I rented a bus, got some hotel rooms, and made some plans for different locations around, all across the eclipse path. That is sold out. So if you're interested in going, we don't have any more room because we don't have any more hotel rooms. We've completely run out. If someone cancels, I do have a couple people that are like first on the list, and then a second on the list. Okay. So if you're interested in that, I'll let you know. Just send me an email and tell me you want to be on the list. But so far we are booked solid. So, and that's all I have. So thank you so much.
Okay, so I guess we're ready to start with the program. We got Willkie here. He's going to be our first speaker.
Okay, my name is Willkie Cirker, and I've been an amateur astronomer since I was in middle school, and had the privilege of observing 4 total eclipses and several partials and a couple annulars. And so what I was going to do is give general tips on what happens, what you don't expect, do expect, what to do or not to do while you're going to visit an eclipse, find the site, what it's like there, just general practical things that I've learned over the time. So ours will be April 8th this year, as you know. Over the years, I've observed these eclipses in 1970, 1984, 1991, 94, 99, and 2017. And as you may remember from being in Ohio, the 1994 was an annular. It was actually very good. If you were close to Toledo, you saw the sun with the moon, huge ring around it, very evenly distributed there. And in 1984, I went to an eclipse that was at the, I'll go back here, on the border between North Carolina and Virginia, went up the eastern seaboard. And that eclipse was an almost total. If any of you were around in 84 and happened to know about that, it got to the point where it was an annular with a ring, but the moon was almost the same size as the sun in apparent diameter, and you could see Bailey's beads all around that. That was, but it happened really quick. One of the things I learned about going in 1984, of course, was to do that, you had to be exactly on the center line. Because if you're a little off, you were just going to get a partial. And so fortunately at that time, we had a member of the CAS named Brent Arkinall, who was an expert in geodetic science at Ohio State, and he drew up maps for us, and he said, here's the line, and here are the back roads, and if you come somewhere around here between North Carolina and Virginia, you should be in a good spot. So we did that and had some success. We had partial clouds, but Vic, I don't know if you were there at that time. I don't think you were at that time, but a bunch of CSers went down. Being pre-cell phone, pre-GPS and everything, it wasn't the easiest thing. There were clouds, and we were trying to coordinate where to meet. So things are a lot easier in that respect now, but at least we had the maps from Brent Arkinol. Oh, but the other thing I want to mention on 1970 is, even though I had been doing this since astronomy as a kid, and I had my telescope, and I knew all major Messier objects and the planets, I didn't know as much about eclipses, and so all over the news was danger, danger, danger. Don't look, don't look, don't look, don't look. So not having as much background, and I wasn't in a club or anything, we went down to the site on the Delmarva Peninsula, which is right on the center line, had good weather, observed it. I used eyepiece projection to be able to project on a screen. I'll show you a little bit later about that. Observed all the partial phases, and then everybody was scared to death to look at it. And so what I ended up, I also had a camera to take the ambience and the sunset all around 360 degrees. I did all of that. But the eclipse, I would go, like I would look away, oh, I don't want to go blind, look away. So one of the big things people don't realize is during totality only, it's safe. Not only to look at it, to take your binoculars out or a small telescope. And then photography is a whole other question. Isaac will talk about that a bit. But because at that point, the brightness of the corona is what, about like moon level, something like that, Brad? I'm not sure. But perfectly safe. But you have to watch as the eclipse ends. People will usually announce getting close. So make sure if you have your telescope off, your binoculars, to take them away quick. So that was what I learned from 1970. Next slide here is interesting because I don't know how many of you know what the Saros is. And what's interesting here is it's possible you may have seen this eclipse before. And in fact, I did see this eclipse before because this was my first eclipse. March 7th, 1970 is the same eclipse that we're going to have next year, next month, 2 months from now. And if you know what the Saros is, it's a cycle that the orientation of the moon and the sun is such in the orbit that every 18 years, 3 months, and 10 1/3 days, I believe something like that, everything is oriented about the same way, except that since you have a third of a day, the Earth is turned a third. So now we're kind of back to where we were in 1970, but a little bit shifted. This was from the Wikipedia article on the Saros. And I think that is the Saros for our eclipse over the years. But I'll have to, yeah, as you see all the way going through the whole year pattern here from hundreds of years ago all the way up through the 2022 or so. It's, at a certain point, it'll disappear. There won't be an eclipse anymore. So in terms of practical steps, the finding the observing site, which we've been talking about, is in some ways a hard part. In some ways it's not that hard. We'll talk about that, and I'll talk a little bit about equipment to have, sharing, interacting with the public, and other factors. I think it's starting to move here. This eclipse, by the way, the picture that I took there is from 1991 off of Baja, California, which was a very good eclipse. It lasted 7 minutes, which seems like an eternity, but even then, it went by so fast. And I'll talk a bit about speed later. So it's finding or observing site is what a lot of people are concerned about now. And we talked a little bit about that before, but as you'll see, you'll find publicized observing sites that are all over the news, a lot of science museums, parks, some astronomy clubs, state parks, wildlife, nature preserves. Those are often good because there may be, if you're looking for a spot that doesn't have quite the public, and you can find a small nature preserve that's on that center line or somewhere close to it within a few miles, you'll probably do pretty well. On the other hand, if you want to share the experience, going to a science museum with a big space like Wapakoneta, Ohio, where they're going to have a program is a good idea. In smaller towns, you have public spaces, schools, Walmart parking lots are generally okay. small rest stops and picnic areas. The one thing I'll say about the popular sites is you're going to have huge amounts of traffic. So you want to get there hours and hours and hours early. And then you don't want to leave when everybody wants to leave. You want to wait till people are kind of gone through the experience, wait a few hours. Even in Nebraska in 2017 when we were there, and the traffic was pretty bad, but it worked okay, and then we just waited 6-7 hours just to even leave. People coming back in 2017 from Tennessee and Kentucky you may have heard the stories, waited for hours and hours in traffic. One of the things besides using your phone and your tablet and the internet, having maps ahead of time printed out is a good idea. This is a map from the 1999 eclipse in Germany, which a few of the CASers saw in southern Germany. We were very lucky that time. About 90% of Europe was clouded out, but a few spots along that line where we were in southern Germany cleared up for a couple hours, and then it started pouring rain. So that's one of the frustrations of eclipses. Where is it going to be clear? What's the weather? Having a maps with secondary, tertiary roads, that's why I put this Ohio Gazetteer and Atlas down here. I don't know if you know that, but it's a great way if you really want to find a site, and it's you're desperate, either getting there, getting back, finding a site on the line. The back roads are in this atlas, and that's something you could find. And then, of course, planning your route. The equipment that you'll need: scopes, binoculars, eclipse glasses, and solar filters. The camera I have here is just a higher-end point-and-shoot, which has a 40-power optical zoom and stabilization, and that kind of thing's all you need. Your phone will work, but your phone zoom quality is probably limited. Isaac will maybe talk about that a little bit. And when you do take pictures, you're going to, again, maybe take a quick picture of the eclipse and then the surrounding area. And the binoculars are great for if you have the filters for the partial phases, and on the totality, without them. Get a beautiful view of the whole experience. And of course, the eclipse glasses, which everybody's trying to get a hold of now. Oh yeah, setting up in advance. People don't realize all the hectic, all the excitement and everything that happens. Temperature changes happen. We had a member of the CAS when I was in Baja, California, and the rapid temperature drop changed his filter, made it freeze on the top of the telescope. He couldn't get it off, and he couldn't watch the totality. But that's kind of a rare thing to happen. But so I would say set up for a trial run, and Isaac will talk about it a little bit. Expect things to go wrong. Expect chaos. So I would say that the most important thing is to enjoy the experience, because it's going to go real fast, 3.5 to 4 minutes for this one, and it'll seem like 10, 20, 30 seconds. That's why I like the binoculars and observing means, because you can see the binoculars in your eye shows you a lot. The photographs will only see what they've been processed. You can see the outer corona, you can see the inner chromosphere, so you get that whole kind of unearthly experience from it. So I would say you don't want to devote or waste too much time on photography, but take in the entire show, the people, nature, the sky conditions, how these 360-degree sunset is going, shadow bands, all these things that you may have read about. This is kind of a once-in-a-lifetime experience. There are going to be other eclipses in the future, but you're going to have to travel to Asia, to Europe, to wherever. Yeah, that speed is a really thing, and as I said, I think the longest this one is 4 minutes or so, Brad?
A little more than 4 minutes. It's going to be 4:15
at the longest. In some places, if you're a little off, it'll be 3 hours, 40 minutes.
It's 3:59 is the next.
3:59, yeah. Yeah, doing video is a good thing too, so that's another thing with your phone is a good idea. One thing I wanted, oh yeah, I skipped over a couple here. Yeah, this was another interesting thing to talk about is, what are you going to do in terms of the public around you? How much are you going to share? Are you going to do photography or not? You don't want to be bothered too much if you are doing photography, and you do want to experience it yourself. So one thing to do is to have, for the partial phases, have 2 telescopes. This one I have a filter on. This I'm just doing a quick eyepiece projection with an old makeshift monocular that I built at one point. When you get to totality, that's a whole other thing, because again, it's going to go so fast. But if you do this kind of thing, or even this, you're going to have to guard the scope with your life, because you don't want kids running up and trying to look through it. So even this, I would say, somewhat dubious unless you want to build a box and enclose it with your projection screen on the back. And in this case, what I've done for the public is often to have, like, I'll have 5 or 6 or 10 pieces of tape to make sure you can't yank that filter off during the partial phases. And then while it's in the middle of totality, on the 91 eclipse, I did have that problem. I was doing photography. I was trying to balance observing and photography. And I said, oh, I want to take a look now. And somebody ran off with my binoculars. So unfortunately, I got them back for the last minute or so. But that was a 7-minute eclipse, so I had a little more. Now they may, I don't know how Wapakoneta is going to do this, but when we were in Nebraska, they actually allowed people with scopes and clubs or a little more experience to be in a separate area. So they knew we were going to do photography, and we might not have been as happy with 15 people running up to our telescope. But I don't know about Wapakoneta, how they'll organize that. So just be ready for whatever. And so basically that's all I have for now. But what I did want to do is ask people who are here, who've done it before, to share any experiences they've had with that whole.
My family and I went to Tennessee in 2017.
Uh-huh.
And we had no special equipment, but on the way we explored things. We made pinhole cameras out of cereal boxes, and then you got the whole thing where you, for the first time you find out you can use your fingers to make a pinhole camera. You know, and so it was just fun, especially with kids, because everybody's figuring out how things work, so.
The sharing part is good when you split for the partial phases where you can do this. And that, of course, goes on for hours and after, several hours.
Yeah.
I don't know, total, I forget. But,
Yeah.
so there's no rush for that, but, yeah, that works well. What kind of a site did you have?
We went down I-75 and stopped at a winery on a hill. We laid there on a hill all afternoon, and
Were there other people there?
oh, there's a ton of people there, and that's what made it fun, because, you know, when the two converge, why people are getting all excited and talking all the way through for the few hours that it takes to do it.
See videos of it, people, you know, basically a life-changing experience and various expletives and a few other remarks. But it's fun, and that was in a spot that wasn't designated ahead of time, or was that something you found?
I've been working on it for quite some time, but the actual winery, kind of by accident. We got there, we're far enough, sky's clear, let's stay here, and I think it was $10 to park in their lot or something, but it was good, and traffic getting out was terrible, and we left like that, you know, and still took hours to get home, but
And that's the big difference from now and 2017, same way. In the 70s and 80s, there was a lot of news and publicity about it, but it wasn't the same level we're going to have here. Any other experiences of just people who, yeah, Vic?
You can do the same thing with a couple of just white paper plates. Just take a pencil and poke a little hole in the one paper plate and focus the sun on the other paper plate, and that's a nice, safe, inexpensive way
Right,
to
right.
see the sun.
You may need a little bit of, it's one thing that would help on, well, this I did real quickly, but having some kind of a shading to see your image a little better. Any other experiences people want to, yeah?
I have something I actually made, I could show that's low-tech
Okay.
projector, basically. That- This is not part of it. Basically, all it is a whiteboard and a blackboard. And cut a hole in the middle of the blackboard. And then I took a piece of black construction paper.
Can you raise that up? We can't see.
Just took a piece of construction paper and did a paper punch hole in the middle of it. And then I have a cosmetic mirror on the back side with the construction paper up against the mirror. And then all you do then is you have this, you're facing the sun, you have the whiteboard here, and then you're projecting the image onto the whiteboard.
So, like this, right?
Yeah.
And then the sun is coming from here?
Correct.
Right.
So basically, I'll aim it on there, and then I can back up about 10, 12 feet. The sun will be about the size of a quarter or whatever. The more you back up, the bigger it is, but it'll start getting fuzzy if you get too
Yeah,
far
it
away.
gets fuzzier and it gets
Yeah.
bigger but dimmer.
Right.
So that's the one thing.
But it's a good way for several people to see it.
Right.
And it's
Yeah.
not, it's perfectly safe. so
You can do
don't have to worry.
variations with that too, like I did here with that binoculars. If you have an old pair of binoculars and you don't mind the fact that the lenses may get cooked a little bit,
Yeah.
you can project with binoculars, put them on a tripod, like I did there, and then project, and then, again, maybe sometimes shading that is a good idea, so you can see a little better. You get a
Yeah,
little,
probably, if you
Right.
had the whiteboard shaded a little bit.
Right,
It helps
right,
to
right.
increase the contrast.
So did you do that in 2017? Or?
Yeah.
Yeah,
I
okay.
actually made this back in '94 for the.
For the annular, right,
Because instead of going up to Toledo, I went to my son's third grade class that they learn astronomy at that grade. And so I stayed and did a whole project
okay.
with them, and we graphed the temperature changes and all that, but I made this for that.
Yeah, we were lucky in '94, the weather was pretty good.
It was
like-
very,
Like almost
very
perfectly
good
clear.
weather for that.
Yeah,
So, but it wasn't worth, to me, chasing up to Toledo, and it was a lot more fun with
yeah.
the kids.
Well, you got an oblong ring that way, or the
Yeah.
off-center ring, but,
Yeah, it was a partial eclipse where we were, but it was.
oh, okay, yeah.
You know, we're west side of Columbus, so it was, you know, we didn't get anything total, but
Right,
it was still a good,
yeah. As
good
far as,
program.
in terms of schools, I've heard, there's talk that they're actually going to close the schools. Do people know about that? Because they are worried about. They are going to.
I know back when we were doing this,
Yeah,
I called some of the public schools and they said they were going to lock down and not have recess.
I don't know if they all did, 94, my son's school planned for it. They got all the eclipse glasses, we bought a whole bunch, and they were very aware of the whole safety process. And so they did something right behind, this was in Columbus, and in their playground, but they were all ready for it. But a lot of schools, I think, did close,
Yeah.
so.
So I haven't heard about this time around whether they're doing
think they
anything
may.
or not.
'Cause,
So,
any other experiences from past eclipses? Okay, so, yeah,
I didn't intend it.
Hi,
Somehow came across.
I'm Karen Wampler. I just joined the club, so I'm new to all you guys. I'm a PA with Ohio Health, and I was working for this last eclipse, and I put my telescope in the parking lot, and then when it came up, I ran outside, and we had some patients, and everybody followed me out. And then I had a camera on I had a filter over the telescope lid, and there was a little opening. Put a filter there, then I put my camera on it, so you could actually just look at the camera and see the eclipse. So I had this whole bunch of people just standing around watching the eclipse. And then after that, we went back to work.
But you got the whole thing from all the way through the
Oh, yeah.
totality, yeah, good.
Yeah.
And it was a safe way to do it, so.
Yeah, it was fun.
Yeah, okay. So if nobody else had, Mark, you wanted to?
Well, if you want, I've got a few slides.
Yeah, so want to be able to show your slides? I have my
Do you have an
HDMI cable.
HDMI? Yeah.
The cable's right there.
Yeah.
And
So I was actually with Willkie and Sharon and Brad and Mike Henry and Mark Richardson and some friends of mine. We were in Nebraska for the 2017 eclipse. And this is actually Mike Henry's slide because we went up to northern Nebraska and saw some prairie dogs after the eclipse. But we were observing in Grand Island, Nebraska, and even though there were perfectly clear skies in Kentucky, a little closer to home, statistically it was better in Nebraska, and there were fewer people, and I-80 ran through the eclipse path, so we thought if we're trying to get to the eclipse and we get stuck in traffic, we'll still be in totality. So that was kind of Brad's idea. And we were staying in a hotel in Lincoln, and they let the hotel staff come out and watch the eclipse. But unfortunately, a cloud parked itself in front of the sun until totality was over, and then the cloud departed, and they missed it. And so we had heard about this before we got back to the hotel, so we were kind of like, restrain your enthusiasm or curb your enthusiasm, because we didn't want to make them feel any worse. Yeah, we decided to go west, and we went just far enough west that we got a clear view. It was a little scary the night before. We were considering driving to Wyoming. It was stressful, and so I've been accused of not packing light, before. All of this is my eclipse stuff, except for this blue cooler here, which was Mike Henry's. Brad, I'm not going to try to even bring that much stuff. I had a hydrogen alpha scope. I had 3 cameras I was using to photograph the eclipse. I had some big binoculars, some 16 by 70 millimeter binoculars. That actually was a really good choice. I got an incredible view through those binoculars. Although I'll explain, I wasted some time that I could have been observing through those binoculars trying to photograph the eclipse. This was on the way out. They're telling us now they can't put these kind of clever messages up there, because people don't get it. So this is where we observed was the Stir Museum of the Prairie, Pioneer. It was an excellent place. There was a line that was probably a couple miles long to get in on the day of the eclipse, even though we had left early. So the traffic to get in. But once you got in, it was great because they had this dedicated area for people with telescopes. So we weren't mobbed by people who didn't have telescopes, like trying to, to ask, can we see, can we see? So this is kind of where we were, camped out, getting ready. One of the cool effects, if you've never, seen these, this actually occurs during the partial phases, but the leaves on the trees actually create little pinhole cameras. And so if you look at, a tree during the partial phase, you may see something like that with a whole bunch of little crescent suns underneath. You can even make a pinhole camera, by crossing your fingers. You can see the little crescents there. So my friend was doing this. One of the cool things during the thin crescent phase, if you look carefully, the shadow on these fingers is much sharper than the shadow on the other fingers, and that's because the sun is elongated in one direction. And it's very, very narrow in the other direction. So it's creating sharp shadows one way, but 90 degrees to that, the shadows are fuzzy. So a lot of you know Tom Burns, the former director of Perkins Observatory. I was listening to him on WOSU radio, and he said, he's like, if you get some fireworks glasses, and you put them behind your eclipse glasses, you get this really cool effect. This is for the partial phases. And you may or may not see this apparition. So. This is actually what it looked like, and my friend Shanna actually took a photograph through the. So this is your fireworks glasses plus your eclipse glasses on the outside. You want to look around for any bright planets as it's getting close to totality. I haven't mapped them out to see what might be visible. The light starts getting really strange, right around totality. And part of it is because probably of this shadow sharpening, everything just kind of looks otherworldly and strange. And this is about the time the temperature was really dropping. There was a little wind that came up out of nowhere. So it really feels kind of weird. You'll see the street lights, switching on.
When I was in Virginia, the roosters did crow.
Oh, cool.
It was morning or evening or something, they were sure.
Yeah, we didn't have like any animals around, but yeah, sometimes animals get tricked and it's bedtime.
Except for the turkey dogs.
Yes.
That bison.
This is, just before totality. So at this time, the sun was a super thin crescent. I'm actually holding up a remote. So I'm taking a picture of myself with the camera that had a remote. And there's Mark Richardson, actually taking a picture, during totality. And you can see we had all these clouds that were kind of, they actually kind of made for a cool picture now, but they were a source of stress at the time. So this is, so if you look on this picture right here, what I did, and it seems just impossible to me now, but I panicked, basically. What happened was I had practiced taking a series of exposures through this telescope with the camera set up, and Isaac will talk about this. The one thing you can't practice is taking the solar filter off. When you're practicing taking pictures of the sun and getting the focus right for the sun's, and the one thing you can't, so I actually did sort of practice. I was like, okay, take the filter off, but on the morning of, after having only like 3 hours of sleep and, and just being stressed and having all these different cameras going, I forgot to take the filter off, and I couldn't find the sun. I was like, why can't I find the sun? Well, because my filter was still on. And I thought, oh, my finder got bumped, and so it's misaligned. Well, you know, with a wide angle telescope like this, I should have known. It's like, you can find it. You don't even need the finders. It was because my filter was still on. And I was like, I don't know what's going on. And I kind of panicked. I tried to find it for a little while. And then I was like, I abandoned it. And luckily, I spent some time observing through my binoculars.
The total is not that bright.
Yes.
You're not expecting, you're sitting there like, oh, I'm looking for something that's fainter.
Yeah. I mean, you will not see it through your eclipse glasses once it's in, total phase. Yeah. So, and that is when you do need to take your eclipse glasses off. Right, so somebody said something about, someone else had done the same thing at our site and said something about a solar filter, and I was like, oh, that's what I did. So I took it off, and I was able to snap a picture and get the corona, and the diamond ring effect, So I missed totality, but I got, I still got the corona. And, there were some cool effects too. This is basically just a shorter exposure. And, the sunspots, it's almost over. This is a little composite I made, so. And then after the eclipse, one of the things you can do is look for because it's new moon, you try to see, and I guess it's a tradition to try to spot the new moon after the eclipse. So if you look really closely, it's a very thin crescent right there. It took me a while to find it. I had to use binoculars. And then after the eclipse, we went up to Nebraska, up to northern Nebraska, and there was a ranch up there, and saw some these are the darkest skies I had ever seen. And we had one clear night. The first night was super clear. There was green sky glow in every photo I took. The next night was not so clear. But Mark Richardson and I had fun, just kind of, there was a distant lightning storm, so I had the long lens on the camera, and this is actually quite far away, but so we had some fun with that. So that's all I have. You ready?
Isaac wants to talk a little more detail about photography or non-photography or automated photography or AI photography.
AI photography, there you go. Everything is AI. Okay. Get this thing going too. All right. There we go. Good. So greetings. As I said before, my name is Isaac Cruz, and basically I try to help people that are interested in taking images of the sky. And as such, we kind of have CASs. One of the things that we did in 2017 was to actually try to take some pictures of the total solar eclipse that we had. I ended up going to Kentucky, I think it was, and we actually were lucky enough that we were able to actually take some nice images and so forth. Now, one thing that you have heard from everyone in here is that if you try to take pictures, right, you heard the word stress a lot, okay? So, really, how to take images, how to take an image of a total solar eclipse, the first thing I'm gonna tell you is that, basically, if you've never done it before, right, don't. okay? Really, I mean, and really I could finish it right here. So, but I won't, right? The fact is that it's quite complex, okay? There is a huge amount of preparation involved with it. Unlike Mark in here that actually took, half his house over, to actually take the solar eclipse. You can actually do it with a little bit modest system. I actually have one tub that actually has all the equipment that I will be actually using to take images on the upcoming one, right? Now, think about this, right? We only have 57 days left before we actually have this, this eclipse, right? So if you are thinking about, which camera to use, or even worse, buying a new camera to actually, use to take pictures of this, don't. It's not going to work, okay? I mean, it really takes a huge amount of effort to actually do it. So, but I mean, if you still want to go ahead and kind of, want to try to take some pictures, I'll give you a couple of pointers that basically, should help you on this, right? First of all, be clear in your priorities, right? The first, you're going to be either, I'm going to be traveling close to 2,000 miles to actually see it. Why? Because the probabilities of that it will be clear, are higher where I'm going to be. I'm going all the way down to Texas to actually, want to watch it. Brad actually has this bus, which, he kindly have, put together, the whole thing. Again, and that alone, right, Brad? I mean, the planning and execution and all that is quite complex and stressful and everything else, okay? So if you're going to actually watch it, right, then, please, for goodness sakes, enjoy it, right? I mean, this can be, it's a magical time. I mean, it's really emotional. All kinds of things will happen when you actually, are trying to experience the total solar eclipse. So, your first priority, I don't want to tell you what to do, but your first priority really is experience the total solar eclipse, okay? Enjoy it. I mean, this is sometimes, for some of us, it may be just the one in a lifetime type of experience, okay? Like we said before, if you want to watch another one, you probably have to be traveling to either Europe, Africa, or South America, or some other part of the world, but because the next one in the United States is 2045. I'll be dead. So that's your first priority, is to actually watch it, right? So if you want to take your equipment and you basically are committed that you want to take pictures, and we'll talk about the quality of pictures, but pictures of the total solar eclipse, okay, go ahead, but your first priority should be to enjoy it, right? To experience the total solar eclipse, right? Now, the second thing is that you want to capture the event, right? I mean, as well as you can, but without really jeopardizing the experience, right? So to that effect, right, the thing that you want to do is you want to have a system, camera, and things that actually move at sidereal rate, things that move at the rate that the sun is actually moving, following the sun for you. That way you're enjoying it, and something else, that we'll talk about, okay, something else is actually doing the work of taking the pictures for you. So automation, nowadays, really, automation is great, right? There are some programs that exist for the PC, two of them, Eclipse Orchestrator and Set NC. Those, allow you to basically create a plan that you can connect your computer to your camera, and then it will take the pictures at the correct times. So what is important about this is that, well, you have to give the right information, so you have to the right information to the program. You have to tell it exactly where you're going to be in the Earth, right? That means so latitude and longitude down to the second. And because, again, this is actually very, very time-oriented, the time in your PC has to be exactly right. So, you know, if you're traveling from Ohio to Texas, right, and, you know, the computer believes that, you know, it's 2 hours later, well, you know, guess what? It ain't gonna work, right? It's just, that's the way it is. So, again, this is fraught with all kinds of gotchas, okay? It's kind of the interesting thing about this. In a sense, that's why I like it, because I like to solve different problems, right? I'm an engineer, so that's what I do. And one of the neat things about this is that, you know, we have talked about to actually be able to be successful to this, you have to practice. Again, we have 57 days for this, right? If you start today, I'm sorry for you. But you know, I mean, it's like you got to do this, you got to set it up. I mean, it takes me like only 15 minutes to actually set this up mechanically, right? But then, you know, after that, it has to be connected to the computer, you have to set it up, you have to make it work, right? And then you have to practice some more. So until you feel very, very comfortable with everything that you're going to try to do. Another thing that happens with this is that, like Mark said, I carry like 2 of everything, right? I have 2 cameras, I have 2 lenses. That's a 100 to 400 millimeters, but I also have a 70 to 200 millimeter with a 1.4. You know, it basically gets me the same amount of field of view to actually be able to take pictures of that. I carry a solar filter. Well, I have an extra solar filter, because I mean, you put that thing in there, you rip the whole thing, it's like you're done, right? I mean, well, you can take pictures of that, of the totality, but you know, if you want to take other pictures, you're done for, right? So I have 2 tripods, and actually the only thing I don't have is something like this. This is actually a little machine that actually moves the camera at sidereal rate. So it basically tracks the sun as it moves across the sky. So you have to be able to practice, and not only practice, but know how to actually set it up and get it started, and then have the confidence that, you know, once you set this up and you start the computer, you can walk away and again enjoy the total solar eclipse, right? I mean, enjoy the eclipse. That's again priority number 1, right? So, as you know, you're going the same day of the eclipse. Is that when you're going?
It depends on the weather. We'll go the day before
if it's going to be cloudy or rainy. Okay. So because I'm going to one specific site, I'm gonna try to get there. I'll be there like, you know, 1 day prior. So get to the site at least 1 day prior. That actually helps a lot. This is very stressful. I mean, this is really, really, I can't tell, if you haven't gone through it, it's really very hard to kind of explain everything, the excitement, right? I mean, it's really something that is a crescendo until it actually happens, right? So being there like a day before helps tremendously, because you will not sleep the previous night. Trust me, okay? I mean, that really happens, right? You get there, and, you know, whether you're staying in a hotel, friend's house, or whatever, you know, the excitement is all around, and you won't be able to sleep. You know, you'll get up at 3 o'clock in the morning, just kind of like looking around and say, well, okay, I'm ready, right? So, but still, if you're there the day prior, you're there, right? I mean, you're a few meters away, or you know, you're there where you need to be to actually be able to experience the solar eclipse. You have heard that like when Mark went to this place, which seems desolate, you know, it took a couple of hours to actually get to the place, right? So plan to actually, you know, be there early enough. Give yourself plenty of time. You know, this is like, I don't know, 10 million people, I think, are in the, like in the path of totality, right? I mean, all in the path of totality. And there's a lot of people that are going to be like coming in, right, to actually watch it.
The population of Ohio will double.
Yeah, that's right. We're 11 million, so there you go, right? So plan to get to the observation site early, and you pack a lunch. Yeah, absolutely right. And patience too, right? Because I mean, really, you're trying to get to the place, and you know you're all excited, and you're not there. But anyway, and remember, right? Priority number one is to experience the total solar eclipse, right? So go ahead, get there, and yeah, go ahead, set it up, right? So let me show you what at least I used in 2017, and really, I mean, I'll have to say, I mean, it was actually quite nice. You know, I was able to take some pictures, right? I mean, this is during totality, and Mark actually did, what is this, 4-pixel thing? Regulus. Regulus, right. So the heart of Leo, right? Yeah. So you know, it was actually quite nice. We all took the same pictures. We just kind of shared them. No, I'm just kidding. No, but it was actually very nice. This is actually just this is different processing to actually start beginning to see. Here it looks a lot better, but you know, the actual extension of the corona, right? I mean, the field of view of this is nearly 4 degrees or 4.5 degrees, so you can actually see, right? I mean, how the corona extends. What does that tell you, right? I mean, is that you don't want to just kind of take a picture of the sun that is this big in your field of view. You need to be able to have enough space for the you know, for the corona, so you can capture, you know, the corona. That's kind of the same thing. It's kind of like a little bit more, and of course, you know, Bailey's beads. Automation allows you to do this, right? I mean, you actually get to see how the time basically changes and kind of goes and goes and goes until you actually, you know, basically have, you know, the diamond, you know, the diamond ring, and then it's time to actually, hey, you know, time to actually put the filter again, because that would, by the way, okay, right after that, your detector in your camera is just gone, all right, because it will, the same thing, right? I mean, it will actually, you know, burn it if you actually don't protect your typically very expensive detector in your DSLR, right? It's just like your eyes, but so okay. Like I said, in 2017, you know, I was able to enjoy the solar eclipse, you know, friends, family, loved ones, and so forth. Automation works, or worked for me, and I'll talk a little bit about what does that mean. The system actually took, you know, 77 images in 150 seconds, right? Because in Kentucky, we actually have like 2.5 minutes of totality and so forth. So, you know, the camera, actually this same camera, right, it was just clicking away, right, changing all kinds of parameters all by itself, you know, pre-programmed, and, you know, it was actually pretty cool. I mean, I was able to take some pictures. The most important part of this is that I wasn't looking at the camera. I did have to do one thing that Mark forgot. You have to do one thing. It's during totality, you have to run over, right? Come here and take the good old, this guy out, because this is your, solar filter, right? So during totality, right, I mean, this is what you got to do. And then, like I said before, once the Bailey's beads go out and you have that diamond ring, okay, well, if you still care about your camera, you have to run back here, right? And then just put it back. And trust me, I mean, your heart is racing. Everything is happening at the same time. People are, clapping, crying, just, kind of like completely enthused about the whole event. But you still have to do those two things, otherwise, your equipment. That, you have to practice it, because, as we've had before, the excitement is so much that, it's overwhelming. That's basically what happens, right? I mean, all these things are hitting you, yeah, and you get overwhelmed, right? I mean, and so little things, are forgotten. So, which is the reason why you got to practice. This has to be automatic, right? Now, I think both programs, Eclipse Orchestrator and the other one, both of them actually have a little audio that, little WAV files, a little audio that actually says, 60 seconds, and it's 60 seconds for you, it's telling you that in 60 seconds you need to take the, to totality. So in 60 seconds you have to go and take the filter off. And it'll be 60, 30 seconds, 10 seconds, and then it will say filter off, right? And I repeat it 3 times. And you didn't hear that. I didn't have to say that. Okay. Well, actually, this is kind of interesting because I didn't hear it, okay? That's exactly what happens, okay, personally, right? I mean, there's so much going on, there's really, truly, that, some of the things, they're not there, right? So there's your computer basically screaming at you, hey, in 60 seconds, you need to do something. I didn't hear anything. Which, again, why did I remember to do it? Because I've practiced this many times before. So it was like, oh, I need to do something. What the heck was it? Oh, yeah, I need to go over there and take the filter off, okay? I'm not saying that you didn't practice it, but, I mean, it's just what happens. I mean, it's truly overwhelming. So, again, yeah, I mean, I missed a couple of pictures, which is fine. I didn't care, and that's the other part of this message. Okay, if you're going to try to take pictures and you go through the process of, having everything set up and automated, and if it works, fine. If it doesn't work, it's fine too, right? I mean, just kind of come up with. There's no problem whatsoever to actually, capturing the solar eclipse, because it'll be in you. I mean, you'll be able to see it, experience it, and again, just the experience alone, it's worth it. Okay, I mean, it truly is worth it. So what do you need, right? If you want to automate these things, you need a computer, right? So you need this thing right here that to be able to do that. You'll need equipment, which includes, right, a tripod. So in this case, I have something that is, very light that I can just carry around without, kind of getting a hernia. You need a little mount that will actually allow you to, kind of point things to, point things in the sky, like the sun, right? You'll need some kind of device that allow you to track a celestial object. That means that you'll need something that actually moves at the sidereal rate. What that will allow you to do is to actually point your camera to the sun once, and then it will continue to actually track the sun. So you don't have to kind of follow the sun as the time goes by. If you've, a solar eclipse, 2 hours? Yes. Yeah. From the first contact all the way through. So as it happens, this by happenstance, this thing right here begins to move, and it actually tracks anything for 2 hours, and then I had to restart it, right? So something like this actually works for my purposes, and it will keep you out of trouble. And once you set it up, right, I mean, it just kind of keeps on working. You'll need a camera, right? I mean, this guy right here. And this is an old T5i, I mean, so, I mean, a DSLR, you probably have one, right? That is not, you know, it doesn't have to be a super duper, you know, brand new camera, not R5 or anything like that. It doesn't have to be too expensive, but, you know, it's whatever you want to use. Okay, this is expensive, right? I mean, the lens itself is like 5 or 6 times what the camera is worth. So this is a 400 millimeter lens, and unfortunately, yes, this is the same cost as a telescope, basically, right? I mean, it's a few $1,000s, sorry, right? So, but that's what it is, right? That's what it takes. In 2017, Mark's dad actually printed this. These are 3D printed filters that the aperture right here was made for these type of lenses. So Mark's dad actually did that for a few of us. That was actually very kind. That was very neat.
Be careful not to leave those in the car where the sun is shining directly on it. 'Cause they can warp.
They warp?
Found out, yeah, my finder got warped.
Oh, okay.
The finder is not so critical, but you don't want the...
Well, you don't want this. Yes, that's right. We don't. This is actually made to exacting specifications. Well, yeah, I mean, it's not easy to actually, you know, you can't make this bigger, right? I mean, make it a little bit smaller, but you can't make it bigger. He was also kind enough to make, you know, this is the finder. Yeah, that's what you were talking about, that it is a little bit fragile as far as the sun is concerned, right? And the finder is just a little pinhole in there, and then you actually get to see the sun in, not reflected, but in the back over there. You actually get to see a little, you know, a little picture of the sun. And really, again, with the software, right, you'll actually be able, I'm just looking for how to, I should have put this back in. So with this and the software and a few other things, you'll be able to take a picture. So if that sounds like something that you want to do and so forth, and you're still not, I mean, you still want to do it, I don't really recommend it. I mean, I truly go back to my original slide, you know, that don't. If you've never done it before, if this is your first solar eclipse, don't do this. It's really not worth it. If it's if you take pictures and, you know, like on nature photography and so forth, you know, you can take pictures of totality only, right? I mean, you don't have to go through the whole process of taking pictures of the partial phases. I mean, Mark did a beautiful job actually putting that collection of images, right? I mean, we actually see some of the partial phases, and then the totality, and then the other side of the solar eclipse, right? You can take pictures. Actually, amazingly enough, you can take pictures. We talked a little bit before. Your iPhone will take a picture. It will take a picture, so it's fine, okay? The new iPhones, you can actually zoom in, and they do have you know, movement stabilization, so that actually works pretty well. Don't expect magic, okay? But they actually, it does pretty well. So and in fact, I use my phone for when we actually do to actually capture what's going on around me. Right? And I'll repeat what Willkie basically said before. Part of the experience of the solar eclipse is seeing what is happening around you, okay? Because the experience itself, it's really, like I said, transforming. It's really, really unique, okay? But look around you, right? I mean, look at the environment, things that are happening around you. Look at the people. I mean, I'm telling you. I mean, if you just look around and do a cursory look, I mean, you'll see people crying, laughing, screaming. I mean, it's the whole gamut of, emotions will be there for you to actually see. So, enjoy it, right? I mean, just all that is part of the experience. Who knows what it will be for you? Every person is unique. I mean, this affects everyone, completely different. So it's kind of a neat experience. We talked a little bit about the planning ahead, how it actually does help enough. The excitement and really, the environment itself, it does lead to tunnel vision, as we all have experienced. And again, I mean, like I said, I had a computer screaming at me, right? I mean, take the thing off, right? I've never heard it. I mean, it's just something that actually didn't happen. And definitely we'll try, basically we'll go to Texas to try to do it again, coming up here in 57 days.
I just have one thing too, I
Yes.
point out, even if you're the best photographer in the world, the view that you get in real, I mean, it's this unreal, real view.
Yes.
The color, the contrast, the type of red that you're seeing in the chromosphere, the whole corona, the fact that your eye has such dynamic range.
Correct, yes.
It's just, even though a perfect photo is great, but it's not what your eye.
Yes, your processing that your brain does, it's really quite amazing. One of the things that Mark actually mentioned very shortly, but I need to mention it again, is that during totality, if you have a pair of binoculars, that is fantastic. I mean, that is really, it's really one of the most transforming views that you can actually see. It's really quite amazing. Yes, sir.
Would you need filters for the binoculars to see, to watch a partial?
Oh, partial, yes, absolutely. Partial, yes. You do not want to any time that is not a total solar, that is in totality, any part at all. Once that diamond ring actually comes out, right? I mean, that's it. That's it. You need your glasses, okay? Do not try to actually watch it like, oh, look at this, it's coming out. No, don't do that, okay? You will, and the same thing with binoculars. You do not want to actually, be watching it when the time comes out, okay? I mean, there's a huge amount of energy in there, right? And the retina will be burned. There's no replacement for your retina, right? So you will lose your vision immediately, and there's no way to come back. Okay? So it is dangerous. Okay, that's the reason why I honestly don't do public. I am so afraid of actually, a kid or, God bless it, right? I mean, I don't do public in regards to solar eclipses because of that. I mean, like solar observation and so forth, I don't do it because of the fear that, some innocent will actually go and kind of like take a filter out. And let me see how this looks with that. What the heck is this, right? And all of a sudden, you have a blind person.
If you did want to do a public, if you want to show the partial phases, a safer way is to do a sun funnel. It's called a sun funnel, and you use a telescope and you actually project onto this screen material that's stretchable, and you use like an oil, what do you call that, funnel? Yeah, and it's like a cone, and you saw it off at the right. There's instructions online on how to build them, and the parts are not expensive.
It's basically just projection. I mean, it's just basically you're projecting it.
But it makes an image that you project onto a screen, and they could be different sizes. But the nice thing is that there's no filter to knock off. Like if somebody knocked it off, they'd have to be like right where the focus is, and it's much, much less likely to result in an accident.
Okay.
The other thing you can do
Thank you.
is, you can buy the filter material that Mark that actually you use to make those filters, and you can buy this in bulk, and you could attach that to your binocular or spotting scope, and then that works for the partial phases. But so you want to be able to take it off during totality quickly and on, so that's something like this is a good idea.
But if you're gonna do that,
Buy
buy
it
stuff now,
I don't know how
because they might
available.
run out.
They might run out. In 2017, they ran out very quickly.
I was trying to buy some, it's a 2-week wait for it to get shipped in.
Yeah, yeah.
It's still on our wait list.
There's still a wait list for it?
Yeah.
Okay.
And the important thing is it goes on the front of whatever you view.
Yes, not in the back. Anything that has any kind of magnification at all, it definitely, you want to put it in the front, not in the back. If it's in the back, you just make a hole. That's basically what happens.
Mark, do you remember where you bought the Mylar material for that?
It was Vader solar filter that I bought, and I can't remember, it was one of the telescope supply places. Now, actually though, you don't need full aperture, so what you could do is cut some cardboard, cut out a hole that's just a little smaller than your eclipse glasses, cut your eclipse glasses in half, and you could make filters using your eclipse glasses that would go on the ends of your binoculars.
There you go.
Because you don't need the full the full size of your objective lens. You got enough light coming in that you just need a little window, so your eclipse glasses can work. Obviously, you'll need another pair of eclipse glasses.
Extra pair of eclipse glasses. That's right.
If you notice that reflector that I had with the filter, that's the way I had set it up. I do have a full aperture one, but that works very well. One that, it wasn't from eclipse glasses, but it was about that much round. Everything else was covered, and that works fine.
Any other questions? Yeah, go ahead.
I'm in the process of practicing. How do you solar align or align that tracking mount in the daylight?
Oh, well, I'm lucky enough that I actually have a little solar finder.
Do you worry about lighting it to flares like you would a night tracking? Or?
It's not that bad. With your iPhone, just point it to the north, just find north with your iPhone, and that will be close enough. Yeah, because we're not going to be tracking, you're going to be tracking them at maximum 2 hours. So, and the actual, right, the actual totality, in itself, that's going to be at max like 4 minutes. So you don't have to be on the pole. It'll be fine. It may walk a little bit, right, as you go from the first picture to the last picture, but nah, that's fine. It will actually track it very well, with no problems. Any other questions? Yes, sir.
Do you guys have any weather sites that you trust to get decent?
Astropspheric. Well, Astropspheric has a very good 5-day, and then beyond 5 days, it gets fuzzier and fuzzier. But that happens to every, every astronomical, every weather type of predictor is that, what I like about Astropspheric, and if you don't know about it, if you're a member, you actually have you are welcome to actually get Astropspheric and join it. We offer, if you're a member, you get the pro version with ads in the bottom. Fair enough, there's the caveat. But the thing is that it gives you access to 4 different predictor, models, weather prediction models that you can actually see, and you can actually see how it changes, like day by day by day, an hour by hour. So it's actually very, very nice. If anybody wants to kind of see it or whatever, we can do it after the presentation.
This study is the closer you are to it, and see where the clouds are going.
Yeah, that's too easy. Yeah, that's very true. But that's what atmospheric is what I use most of the time. Again, because it has all the models from the European model, the American model, and the global model. So it actually has all the models that you have, and you'll see the differences, right? So, any other questions?
Anybody not traveling far, say in Ohio, where's anybody planning on going? Anybody scouting any spots yet? I was hoping you had Ohio.
Yeah. So I've been scouting spots for our trip, and there's a lot of places that are opening up for cars to come in. There's a lot of like wildlife refuges and that sort of thing.
You mentioned Wapakoneta.
Wapakoneta is doing a whole town festival, and I think the reason why is because they're almost right on the center line. There's like a couple miles north of it. So Wapakoneta is a really good source.
Neil Armstrong.
The Neil Armstrong Museum is just outside
I
of
think
town.
Selena or something a little farther west, that are gonna have a full weekend of music and arts and stuff like that.
Honestly, downtown Cleveland is a really good spot. Like north of Marion is good. Tiffin, Findlay, those towns are all going to have places to go and park in that regard. The place that it enters into the state of Ohio is right across the border. Is a little town called Union City, Indiana, and they're having a thing also, and they are dead on the center line, so they're right there. If you want to go
like almost 2.5 hours from here.
yeah, a little further west is south of Indianapolis. There's a bunch of little towns in south of Indianapolis where the totality passes through and stuff. So there's a number of towns that are having festivals. It's almost too many to mention because they've actually kind of picked up. Indiana, in particular, has a really good website that has a map, and you can click on the map, and it'll bring up the website for each individual town and tell you what they're doing.
Ohio EMS is doing the same thing.
Ohio is doing it. It's not. Indiana's is really good. Ohio's is pretty good.
The state parks, or a lot of state parks are into.
Yeah, a lot of the state parks are doing it.
EMA.
Now, John Ryan State Park is also doing it, but they're not really close to the center line.
Yeah, they actually have a map you can click on.
Yeah.
I tried Indian Lake.
Indian Lake,
There
yeah,
are no
Indian Lake.
campsites available.
Yeah, the thing about Indian Lake is it's mostly private land, and so it's hard to get onto. Honestly, this is what you do. You go to a town, you find your big box store, Walmart, World, Target, or whatever, and you park in the parking lot. That is a really good strategy for finding a place, because there's a lot of parking there, and you will find parking. I talked to a lot.
Charging you to park there.
They may.
Charge you $25?
Yeah, they may.
$25 for the most extraordinary experience
Yeah.
in life. It is worth it.
Yeah, they may charge you 10 or 20 bucks to actually park in there. So what? That's fine. That's no
Yeah,
problem.
I would pay
Yeah,
$25
sure.
for
I mean, that's
fine.
it's okay.
Nobody that I've called at a Walmart has said that they're going to charge us.
Right.
That may change when they figure out what they're in for. But yeah, I've investigated a lot of different places. There are more than you can count. I mean, there's tons and tons of places that are doing it. But I would say probably for people who are astronomically inclined, and I hate to say this because it's going to get a little crowded, Wapakoneta is the place to go.
There you go. And let's hope that it's clear.
Yeah.
I mean, that's the whole thing, right? I mean, we're basically looking for a place that we think that it will be clear, right? I mean, and it's not like super far away.
We'll have a crowd because it's so well known, too.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, Wapakoneta will be busy. Absolutely. Yeah, that's.
Yeah.
And don't trespass. Yeah, that's very true.
Tiffin and Findlay and Lima, excuse me,
Lima,
are
yeah.
relatively nearby.
Yeah.
Kildare Plains.
Plains Park is pretty close to the center. It's a lesser known park.
Yeah.
They may close rest stops, so when the rest stops get full, they may close.
That happened to you in Nebraska, right? They actually closed the rest stops? Yeah, that's very true. I remember that. Yeah. So, but like Brad said, I mean, there's going to be a lot of places that will be, I want to say, available.
Be flexible.
Yes, be flexible. That's the whole thing. But by the way, one of the neat things about this, okay, I mean, as you can see, I mean, this is completely self-contained, right? I mean, so I don't need a plug, I don't need anything, right? I mean, for me to be able to do that. So again, think about that, that too, because you may actually end up in the middle of a field, basically where there's no power, there's nothing, right? But if you still want to do this, which I still don't recommend, but if you still want to do it, that's one of the things that you have to remember.
Joanne Kuntz, she made a really good photograph of totality. She had a small handheld image stabilized camera, and I don't know how many pictures she took, but she actually came up with a pretty nice image, and very simple.
Yeah, and that's very true. Yeah.
Mark Richardson just held his camera up.
Yeah. And you can use your iPhone. I mean, it's you don't really have to. Yeah, pretty small, but yeah. You can.
Do you have internet on your computer?
I do not actually. Unless Don actually gives me. Yeah, if Don is here, I'll be able to get it. Right now, I don't have. Well, actually, wait a minute. I do have an iPhone. Let me get my.
Because I don't know, it's getting a little late, but I have an adapter here. From the 2017 eclipse that we went to in Nebraska, Mark was describing his experience with being overwhelmed and forgetting to take off the filter and that sort of thing. My strategy for taking pictures has always been, the eclipses that I've been to, is just have something that is doing it automatically and completely forget about it.
Please, do that.
So I shot a video where I just set my camera down on a tripod and pointed it up at the sky. And if you do a wide angle shot, the sun is not on one spot in the camera long enough to burn out the thing. You just open it up, and then, so 10 minutes before totality, I turned on the record button, and I just let it go for the whole thing. And I turned the microphone way up, so one of my favorite things about it is you can hear the sound of the people talking. And I have.
Do you have
cellular data.
You have a set?
It's on my own website.
Come over. Yeah, it is.
Okay, so this is, I'll narrate it as we go along.
Go ahead.
You can actually see, this is just the camera sitting on the ground, and with all the people that we've got there. And you can see that it's actually cloudy at this point. I'm
clicking automated photograph with my hand clicker.
Yeah. So there in the corner, it says countdown to second contact. Second contact is the first moment of totality. That's what that is. And there's Mark taking pictures all over the place. We got a nice halo that day. You could actually see the rainbow in the sky, which was from ice crystals. It's very pretty. I wish I could hear it.
Yeah, let me see if I can change the output of the.
So Mike Henry's kind of a goofball, and he said, "Do we have time to go to the port, John?" Because it's only like 2 minutes. There we go.
Yeah. Can you hear that more or less?
right here, that's actually where totality starts.
Is that you, Mark?
Yeah, that's my big binoculars.
Yeah.
That was a great thing. So there were still cars, right? All the freeway upstairs. My camera just wanted to get some of the street off fireworks.
Finally! Finally! Yeah. That's where you got your diamond ring, yeah.
This was my GoPro camera. GoPro camera. You see the flicker on the
Yeah, the shadow bands, yeah.
Yeah, I was shooting manual, so shutter was like this.
Big smiles, because they actually saw it. No frowns.
So I didn't have to hit a single shutter the whole eclipse. I just let it go and it did itself. So, whoops.
That's fine, I got it. Now, I mean, you heard all the people screaming, you know, not only kids, but actually, you know, adults, and actually, that's really kind of the emotions, right? The whole gamut of things that you can actually, that you'll actually get. And again, it can be, and it will be overwhelming. I mean, it really is. It's really quite a neat experience that, you know, each and every one of you should, if you can, actually try to, you know, enjoy and experience. Any other questions? Yes, sir.
When you're taking photos for it, would you recommend taking a video with the tracker?
You can.
Or would you recommend taking, just grabbing photos with the intervalometer?
I take photos, yeah. It's basically, I program an intervalometer, which the computer becomes the intervalometer, but it also controls both, just not only the speed, but, you know, both the ISO and the, yeah. So it actually is.
I did video in 1994 back when they had video cameras.
Mhm.
You know, the smaller video tape. It worked okay. And I used that partly for the eclipse, and there was some manual control on it, so I could kind of get different effects. And then also use it to get the crowd a bit, and then just put it aside and observe.
Yeah. Like I said, my idea, or at least my intent, is to basically have this actually do its thing all by itself. So, you know, the last thing I want to do is actually be fiddling with a camera in the middle of totality, right? I still have to remember to actually take, you know, and that's fair, that's fine. But you know, I just don't want to basically start fiddling with the camera, changing the you know, changing speeds, ISO, and you know, I saw people that actually had, you know, a nice notebook, and they had all the things that they wanted to do, and they missed the whole thing, right? I mean, they took pictures, right? But they took pictures. They didn't enjoy the solar eclipse. And I don't want anybody to actually do that, right? Because the experience itself is really what is really worth it, right? You can capture it, and if you capture it, fine. If you miss it, then it's fine too, okay? I mean, you actually experienced it yourself. So I know I'm repeating myself, but it's really the message that I want to give everyone, right? That is awesome, but you know, and it's great to record it. And, you know, if you can, awesome. If you can't, you know, just be there to enjoy it. Yes, sir, Mike.
I was going to say, I mean, Alan Dyer had an e-book on how to photograph the 2017 eclipse. He might have one for the 2024. I mean, it was well written, and it gave you the exposures. If you wanted to try to, if you have a tracking mount like Isaac's, you could combine different exposures.
That's what you do.
Yeah, to get
Yeah.
you know, the full.
I actually bracket, right? I mean, I bracket my exposures, you know, 3 f-stops, right? So I take like multiple images, you know, bracketed in 3 f-stops.
The software does that?
Yes, absolutely. Because it's basically just controlling the camera. So, you know, it's basically bam, 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 right? And so, and again, I don't want to do that. I want the system to basically do that. So the only thing I have to worry about is actually press the button that says start
And it's extreme.
and change it.
The difference in exposure is pretty extreme.
Yes, absolutely, yeah. I mean, I go from,
How many, like 6 f-stops or something?
Well, I go from 1 to 4 seconds, in the, when I'm actually doing the, during totality. So that's a lot when you think about it.
Yeah, actually, I think my original plan was not to go, I couldn't do the 4 seconds because I wasn't tracking. So
Mhm.
I think, I only went up to maybe, less than 1 second. But
Yeah.
when I went in the other direction, I went down shorter exposures.
Yeah.
Like to, I think, 125th or something.
Yeah. I mean, you basically have a huge amount of dynamic range in there. Because I have pictures of, in some of my pictures, I actually have just the moon. I mean, you can actually see the moon. So depending on what you want to do. I know what I wanted to do as far as the results and how I wanted to process it. So I get to use all those images. But to take just one image of the totality, just like John did, John Const, a member of the club, I mean, that can be it, right? I mean, that may be what you want, right, and so forth. So you don't have to kind of go crazy. Just get a good camera and basically have fun with it, but enjoy it. I mean, just basically. Yes, sir, Vic.
Some customers of mine, they gave me a very, very beautiful old refractor telescope from the 1950s, and along with it is a solar filter that you can put in your eyepiece. Don't try using it because
Correct. Don't.
the sun's heat can maybe break that glass and make you go blind. So
Yes.
I hate when that happens.
Yeah, the filters always need to go on the front of the optics, never on the back side.
Yeah. Again, the amount of heat that is actually generated, I mean, it's a loop, right? I mean, it's a magnifying glass. That's what you have that's what your telescope is. It's a magnifying glass. It's actually concentrating all that energy in one point. So, if you put it in the back, right, you're basically putting a huge amount of energy in a very small point, and they do crack glass, no problem whatsoever. They'll burn through a filter in no time at all. They'll make a nice hole very, very, very quickly. Yeah. Well, any other questions? We don't. Thank you very much. I appreciate you coming over and have a great night. Appreciate it. Maybe I'll see some of you next Saturday.